My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca. I wanted to make a podcast that exposes people to the true miracles of life and health. All the guests on this show have been specially picked because they bring something positive to the world. They have some of the most amazing and inspiring life stories. These people have a passion for living, healing, and leaving the world better than they found it. There is something inside these people that made them keep fighting through all the tough times, even when people told them it was not possible. They carried on and made their lives beautiful again. And now they are sharing their experiences with the world. This is the Expect Miracles podcast. Enjoy the show. Dr. Kasey Johnson is a chiropractor out of Orlando, Florida. She also hosts the amazing Unlock Wellness podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. Dr. Kasey is an extremely driven individual and always takes massive action to accomplish all of her goals and dreams. It is an honor to have her on the podcast today. Please welcome Dr. Kasey Johnson. Dr. Kasey, where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm actually from West Virginia originally.
Really?
Yeah, in the Charleston area, and then we lived in a town called Hurricane for a while. It's spelled like hurricane, but you say it's hurricanes.
I have never been to West Virginia, but I've heard amazing things.
It's really beautiful. You can't say enough about that, or the people there are just amazing, so friendly, safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't miss the winters.
Yeah.
I'm cool with being in Florida.
So you're in Florida now, huh?
Yep, right outside of Orlando.
Nice. And so what were you into growing up as a kid in West Virginia?
I mean, just
Everything.
normal kid stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up playing basketball, always super active in that sense. So yeah, I enjoyed just being outside and being with my friends and being active.
Absolutely. And Dr. Kasey, you are also a fellow podcaster of the Unlock Wellness podcast.
Yep.
And I was listening to your first episode, and it said you used to have chronic ear infections and sinus issues as a kid. What was that like?
Since an early age, I was born premature, 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
Right out the bat, obviously that it really affects your immune system. So just based on stories that my parents have told me, just right out of the gate, sick pretty often, whether it's an ear infection or I think I had pneumonia in kindergarten and stuff like that. Stuff that at the time you tell yourself is kind of normal childhood kind of things. But yeah, no, I did get strep throat and ear infections quite a bit. Yeah.
I was the same way. Probably a couple times a year I was on antibiotics for strep throat, cold, sinus issues. And that's what we think to do in America is just go to the doctor and get antibiotics. And chiropractic can just take care of a lot of that and eating right. But I mean, we just didn't know that back then. But
I know.
So continue. So you grew up in West Virginia. Did you play basketball in high school and college and everything, or?
I didn't play in college, but I did play from about second grade to my senior year. So yeah, so I kept up with that. And then my friends talked me into soccer and tennis that senior year, just to be hanging out with friends and stuff. But yeah, no, I always enjoyed just being active and working out. And that was always something that was really important to me.
Definitely. And did you stay in West Virginia for undergrad, or did you go somewhere else?
Yeah, I did. I went to West Virginia University in Morgantown. Yeah, so
no shortage of a good time over there.
No, absolutely. No, it's an amazing school. I had an amazing time, met so many great people, and majored in exercise physiology there because I didn't know exactly what route I wanted to take then. Chiropractic still wasn't on my radar at that point, and I knew I loved working with the body. I loved learning about that, but I also knew I didn't want to be a medical doctor. I didn't want to be around medicines. I hated getting shots, wasn't for me. So I did exercise physiology because I knew there was different paths that I could take from that.
It opens up a lot of gateways, that major, a ton.
My main focus then was maybe I'll go into physical therapy. I can work with people. I don't have to deal with medications. So that was my goal. I started working towards that and also had a specialty in aquatic therapy because first I did it because I heard that if you did that, it helps you get into physical therapy school.
Okay.
But it was really cool though, just learning how to work with people and rehab in the pool, and definitely helps me with my education on how the body works.
Was that for all age group sizes and shapes, the aquatic rehab, or were you doing it for specific injuries, or how does that work?
It was everything. I'm sure there is things that are specific, some things, but it was pretty cool because there was people that were coming in with a high school sports injury, or people who were maybe diabetic that had a lot of neuropathy problems, or older people who had like hip issues or things like that, anything like that, just because you're getting the weight off of their joints and really move and work out. Like, it was really actually very cool to watch people progress in the pool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you obviously didn't go the physical therapy route. So what happened?
It was kind of funny. I was waiting for an anatomy class at WVU. It was like junior year maybe. And one of my friends was talking to another friend about how they had somebody that they knew was at Palmer in Florida and they really loved it. And I'd never really looked into chiropractic, never had even heard of Palmer.
Never had a chiropractic adjustment at this point either?
Nope. And this was junior year, of undergrad. Yes, but the stuff he was talking about seemed really cool. So started researching it. The school looked amazing.
It's in Florida.
You cannot go wrong. It's in Florida. And so I started researching chiropractic that night, and just everything about it just seemed like everything that I wanted. I just didn't know. You can work with the body. You can work with nutrition. Like, it was like everything that I wanted. Yeah, so I started shadowing doctors in the area and just fell in love with it.
Awesome. So then you went down to school in Florida and you had an amazing experience down there?
Yeah, Palmer, Florida was really great. Learned so much and just started networking with doctors who are more holistic mindset, because as you know, in chiropractic school, you get different cliques of people, right? You
can go any way you want from there too. It's really,
Yeah, I mean, you could have more sports-based or more injury or there's so many philosophies and techniques.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Fortunately, I kind of fell into place with people who were more holistically mindset, was looking at the body for adjustments for healing, not just as a Band-Aid. And learning from them was super crucial to the way my path went just as a doctor and for my own health and for my own family. So,
yeah. So a lot of your podcast episodes are based on eating healthy. You have a lot of vegan episodes. Are you a vegan now?
I am, for about 2.5 years.
Okay, so what made you want to try vegan? Were you going through any health issues at the time where you're like, I need to change my diet, or it just kind of happened?
It was a bunch of stuff to even get there. I was talking about the doctors that I was learning from in school. They weren't vegan at all. They were like grass-fed meat, organic dairy, that kind of route. Mm-hmm. But that was like a stepping stone. So I went more like a little bit more standard American process to more organic, got really into that. And then from there, just started researching more. And I came across a book by Rich Roll, and it's called Finding Ultra. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all.
Finding what?
Finding Ultra.
Okay.
Yep. And he's amazing. He actually has a podcast that's really great as well. But yeah, his name's Rich Roll. And I read that book, and I think I read the book towards the end of chiropractic school, maybe during my internship. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that's when it kind of really planted the seed that I was pretty sure that I would end up vegan someday, just because his story was so amazing and was stuff that I'd never really researched before. But from there, I really just started diving into the documentaries and the books. And that was a few-year process. It wasn't like I read the book and turned vegan.
There's so much to know too, because you have to do it right. You got to make sure you're getting the amount of proteins and the vitamins and everything, because you're taking out meat, which is giving you some iron and everything. So you definitely have to do your research before just going to vegan, right?
Yeah, and it was an environment thing too. I was around at the clinic that I was at this point. It was, like I said, more organic meat, organic dairy.
Right.
And I'm teaching that to people as well. So it's kind of conflicting when you're trying to research things. But yeah, no. So in the back of my mind, I knew that it was the right choice for me. But a few years had gone by, actually was pregnant, had our daughter, and then still wasn't vegan. And she's about 2.5 almost now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So about pretty soon after I had her, I was breastfeeding. I ended up having mastitis, which if you're listening and you don't know what that is, it's when you're breastfeeding and the milk glands get clogged, and then that can cause an infection. It makes it very, very painful to nurse. And you also get flu symptoms. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I would have 100, you would be fine. And then it would just come out of nowhere. So I could be fine. And all of a sudden, 1 minute later, 106 fever, I'm down for 24 hours. But at the same time, if you're a new mom, you can't be down for 24 hours. You have a newborn, you're up.
How often was that happening? It would would it come and go?
Every other week, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, but after that 24 hours-ish, the milk would kind of clear more, and then you would be fine. But it was very hard. It made nursing very painful as well, all the time. But I was so dedicated to not stopping nursing. I wanted to do it till at least 2. Like that was as close to 2 as I could. That was super important to me. So I kept through it. And when she was about 2 months old, I'm nursing and it's just really painful and like I want to cry. I'm just like, I was sitting with my husband, Travis, and I'm just like, yeah, I have to decrease inflammation and I don't take Tylenol. I don't do that. So I was like, I'm going to give up dairy because I know that's going to help with inflammation. It's also going to help with her because it's better for her digestive system as well. But I'm like, if I'm going to give up dairy, I'm also going to give up meat because I've been wanting to do it for a while. Might as well do it. And kind of selfishly too, I knew that nobody would give me a hard time if I was like, oh, I did it for me and the baby, It was kind of like an easy, because that's a very social thing as well.
Very true. Yeah.
After I did that, I didn't have any last meal, any kind of thing like that. But like I said, it was technically overnight, but it wasn't. It was that few years of education and really looking into it a lot. So
was it a tough transition for you?
It really wasn't. But I still think it's because for me, I had to take that extra time to learn. And even in that few year process, I had a few times where I did a few weeks at a time and did that. But yeah, no, it really wasn't. It really wasn't for me.
What do you see some of the mistakes people might make when they first switch from just eating meat to just strictly vegan? Do you see any mistakes or maybe some things people should know while making the transfer?
I think people don't eat enough when they switch. You're looking at 2 different things. If you're eating more fruits and vegetables, they're very nutrient dense, but a lot of them, they don't have the caloric density. But it's cool because you actually can eat more, right?
Yeah.
So it's just making sure you're eating a lot. And maybe if you are a little down on energy, you might not be getting enough calories. I think that's a big one to really make, and just the variety. And also knowing that just because a package says vegan, it doesn't mean that it's healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oreos are vegan. I mean, I could eat Oreos and they'd be vegan. Yeah, understanding that as well. Just because something says vegan, it does not mean it's healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, people are like, oh yeah, shop at Whole Foods. I was like, well, Whole Foods serves French fries and all that stuff. It's better quality, but you can still do you in a little bit.
Oh, you can.
So where did the podcast come from? Because you're extremely passionate about that and you do really great episodes. I love your show. Where did that come from?
Right after I had our daughter, I decided to take a little extra time off from practicing just because I wanted to spend that extra time with her while she was little.
They say that's very important. They say a lot of women are going back to work too soon. What's your thoughts on that?
I have so much empathy for moms that do either one, honestly. I could see how, obviously, if you have to, you have to.
They say there's an attachment period.
It's way harder than what I thought it was going to be, honestly. I thought I would be able to go back a little sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard because you don't want to miss out. And there is this attachment. I mean, obviously, it's on a hormone level, too. Physically, there is an attachment. It's not a mental thing. There's an attachment. It's very, very hard. And moms are superheroes. I mean, I have love for whatever decision any mom makes. But it's hard. It's hard. So the podcast, I started it was a year ago in April. I had some extra time, obviously, because I'm home. She's getting on a better schedule. But at the same time, I'm used to being with people and helping people with their health and wellness. And you have that void when you don't have that. And I know you understand it's just it's addicting helping people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I had that and I wanted to be able to use some kind of platform to reach more people and super passionate about that. And, it's funny. I try to think of the exact moment that I decided to make it. And I know Gary Vee was a big influence on.
He's the man. Yeah. I was listening to one of his videos today. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big influence because he pushes just starting, right? And not worrying.
Yeah, no excuses, just do it, yeah.
Right. I mean, I could have waited so long for it to be perfect or to have the right equipment or to learn anything. I really jumped in knowing nothing. And the day that I decided to do it, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to start it today because otherwise I'll make an excuse and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I started it and then I just started reaching out to people blindly to come on as guests and I posted it with 3 episodes. And I remember, Kevin, when I posted it that day, I wanted to throw up the entire day.
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I posted it and it's just been as consistent as possible ever since. And
you are extremely consistent with it.
I appreciate that. It's just, I try to be as consistent as possible just because I think if you just try to draw the line in the sand and say, I'm going to be consistent, then you have to. Otherwise, excuses creep in because nobody's keeping me accountable for that. It's just me.
Right.
But it's just been so rewarding. And
yeah,
obviously on a personal level because I can reach people and help people. But the feedback of people that it's really helping, it's cool. You can really build a platform no matter what stage in your life that you're at.
Yeah. And it's really cool. It's like, because people are like, oh, what do you think about this topic? It's like, oh, well, I did a podcast on this. Why don't you listen to it?
Right.
And they can get so much out of that episode, and you're not sitting there talking to them for an hour and everything. You can only, like, there's so many times where I just like, somebody will ask me a question, I'll send them the podcast up, so listen to this, and then they'll come back with all the information. It's a good platform, for reaching more people, exactly like you said, yeah.
It is, and man, it's just crazy. And then as far as like I can't explain how many people I've been able to connect with in a year. More people I've connected with than I have in my entire life. And that's an advantage too, obviously obviously you want to be connected with a lot of amazing people that inspire you, but you can help connect the guests too. Like I connect guests with other guests all the time, and it just forms this.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like building this super positive community that really does want to help change the world for the better. So.
And it's amazing how you can just meet somebody, have an hour conversation with them, and develop a very strong connection down the road and like remain close. It's pretty unbelievable.
I think it's because you're opening up to that person. If you don't just go up to a stranger and like just tell your whole story, right? You have like how to be vulnerable, and you forget that. I think we probably both forget that sometimes. Like these guests have to be really vulnerable to share their story.
Oh, absolutely. Like I've had people be like, no, or like, what are we going to talk about? It's like they don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm like, listen, you're like really entertaining. You're funny. You have a lot to say. Like you're going to be great.
Yeah.
And some people just forget like how awesome they are, and they come on and they're nervous, and then at the end they're like, thanks for inviting me on. That was the most fun I've ever had. Like it's a good time.
Right, because people like to talk about themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
But it's cool though because it helps share a story that somebody may be going through as well. It really is a super powerful tool, and I really am passionate about it. Just is a great way to reach people and help change their lives. So,
what would you say the premise of your podcast is? Like, what's your goal? What's the mission of your podcast?
I have a super wide variety of guests that have come on, anywhere from people who have really transformed their health as far as weight loss, or people who are more on like the mindset level of it, or just doing really cool stuff. And it really is a variety of different topics, but I mean, really just helping people make positive changes in their lives that can feed into other things. You might listen to an episode, Kevin, that somebody's lost 200 pounds. Obviously, you don't need to lose 200 pounds, but the mindset that those people have to be at to lose 200 pounds, anybody can take and apply and make their life better in some way.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it's just like, there's always a takeaway, even if that story seems super diverse. And that's what I like. I like bringing in people who have different stories, but you can listen and be like, oh yeah, that can apply to me. And I think that's super powerful when you can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to touch on, or? I
just really want to help people like transform their health. And I know like you see this all the time, Dr. Kevin. I mean, especially because I know with our podcast, we probably have a lot of younger families that listen that do have young kids. And something that I've noticed especially is like with Maddox, my daughter, like I said, she's 2.5. And something I started to notice, she has so many books, right? These books are what she's taking in all the time. And I mean, TV too, that's going to develop what she thinks about things. And like when I started looking at all these books that she had, none of them were really teaching her anything of value. Last year, shortly after I started the podcast, I decided to put out a children's book about chiropractic.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's about a toddler going to a chiropractor, and it follows her along her visit, just bright pictures, just a cute rhyming.
That is awesome. Are you an artist too, or you had somebody do?
I had somebody do the illustrations. I wish I could have done that as well. But the story just follows her on her chiropractic visit. She talks about how like it helps her body heal and function at a higher level. And I think that's super important to get messages like that to kids at a young age. And not only that, if a kid gets that book and a parent's reading that to them, they're taking that in as well. So I put that book out. My daughter's name is Maddox. It's called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. It's going to be a series. So I actually will have another one coming out that's not chiropractic based. It's more like a little bit more nutritionally based, coming out at the end of the summer. So
what's the process like publishing something? Is it easier than you think, or is it tough, or?
Yeah, no, I self-published.
Okay.
And it was way easier than I thought. And like I said, that was shortly after I started the podcast. And like when after I started the podcast, it was important to me to make it like a year of just like massive action. So if there was something that I wanted to do, I was going to do it. And it wasn't like maybe next year, maybe that year. So by the time I decided to do the kids book,
it was decided and you went for it. Yeah.
It was decided and I got to work on it. And literally in like 3.5 months, it was published. Like that's how quick. And that's what I like. I just want people to understand, like, if you want to do something, just like learn how to do it. You have the internet, get to work, and you can get things done way quicker. Because my original plan was like in 5 years, kids book. And one of my friends was like, well, why are you waiting 5 years? And it ended up being like 3.5 months. So it's like, we'll go after what you want to do.
Absolutely. Well, and you said it too, massive action.
Yeah.
Massive action. And there's got to be something inside you that's almost bigger than you, because there's going to be days you're like, I don't feel like doing this. And there's got to be like a driving force. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, having a child now, it's just like you see all of this stuff going on. You see all your friends that have kids that are posting about their kids that are sick and have tubes in their ears and are like, it's sad and it's frustrating. And it's just like, but the more positivity you can put out in the world and things that like line up with your values without being negative, I mean, that's all you can do. And it's just super important to me just to get that out, but in a positive way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Dr. Kasey, I actually stole this one from you. I love how at the end of all your episodes, you ask the guests what they have really taken with them over the years through their life experiences. What would you like to leave the audience with that you've picked up and that you've learned that's really helped you out over the years?
Probably, especially this last year, year and a half, is just decide what you want to do and be consistent with it. And even like you said before, like there's going to be days where you don't want to work on the podcast or work on this. It's like, but just knowing that if you're just consistent with it, that can lead to things that you couldn't even imagine. And it can help people that you may not even know that it helped.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
It's really cool that the impact that can make just by you being consistent when you show up, how many lives you can help.
Yeah. There's that one really good BJ Palmer quote. I hope I don't butcher it.
It's okay.
You never know how far reaching someone with what you think, say, or do will affect the lives of millions tomorrow.
Exactly.
And it's true, you don't.
100%. It's insane. Like, quick example, I had somebody message me on Facebook like a few weeks ago, and he was like, hey, really love the podcast. I started listening, and I had a lot of heart issues and a lot of problems with cholesterol, and he's been seeing a cardiologist and like had a lot of blockage. And he listened to an episode where I had a cardiologist on that was a very plant-based cardiologist, and he was like, she actually ended up being in my town.
Really?
He switched to her. They are like on a game plan. All his blood work's improving, and he's signed up for like a marathon.
That is awesome.
And that's like a dad. That's like young 40s dad who could have very possibly had a heart attack in a few years. And now he's changing his nutrition and he's more aware of it just because he was able to connect with the guests who happened to be in the town. So it's like, I don't know. I was super thankful that he shot me a message and told me that, because like, just really reassuring when you know that what you're doing is helping somebody. Like, that's enough. Nobody else's impact. Like, that's enough.
I feel like sometimes get like feedback like that when I'm just like not having a good day. I'm like, why am I doing this? And then that message will come. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why.
Right. 100%. It's just cool. Just be consistent and like know that you're going to reach somebody that needs it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are trying to reach the masses like right away, when if you can just reach one person, if you can change one person's thinking, the way they do something for the better, you have definitely done your job.
Yep, definitely.
And it's beautiful what the internet is doing now, because they can go and click on your podcast and just get so much information. It's not just coming from the TV anymore or just actual doctors' mouths. People can do their own research and change their own lives.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, like you're saying, you can really be an advocate for your own health and listen to these like really awesome podcasts and YouTube. I've learned so much off of YouTube.
YouTube is unreal.
YouTube's crazy.
Yeah.
You want to know how to do a surgery? You can. No,
yeah.
Don't do that. It's crazy.
There's a YouTube tutorial for everything.
There is. It's just like, there's so much knowledge that you can gain just using the internet. It's amazing. And like being able to connect, because I mean, you do a podcast as well, obviously. And it's like, you can connect with people all over the world and meet them in person, like you said, and then you're already real friends. And like, I don't know, the impact's just really amazing.
Yeah. It's almost like it's tough to put into words sometimes.
Yeah, it is. So worth it and amazing.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Kasey, where are you located? What are your social media platforms, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so everything on social media is at Dr. Kasey Johnson, and it's Kasey with a K. And Instagram is probably the most active, and then Facebook and Twitter is there as well. So I would go Instagram first and then the others.
Perfect.
Yep. And then their website's just drkaseyjohnson.com. The book is on there in the shop, and it's on Amazon as well. So yeah, that's basically everything. Just Dr. Kasey Johnson.
All right. Well, Dr. Kasey, thank you so much for coming on. Loved this episode. I'll definitely be in touch, and we'd love to have you on anytime.
Thank you. I mean, it's really an honor. What you're doing is amazing, and your story is amazing as well. Yeah, if you haven't listened to his episode on my podcast, go do it because, yeah, your story's great. I love it.
Thank you so much, Kasey.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, subscribe, give us 5 stars, and leave a review. It really helps boost the podcast and spread the good word. My chiropractic practice is located in West Orange, New Jersey at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. You can also find us on Facebook at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. All of my information is on my website at drkevinpecca.com, drkevinpecca.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Kevin Pecca for podcast episodes, patient testimonials, and educational videos. I have daily affirmations and inspirational quotes on Instagram at Easel Affirmations, EASEL Affirmations. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at drkevinpecca@gmail.com, drkevinpecca@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Cheers.